So with that introduction, let's talk a little bit about Q&A. I got a bunch of questions already, but I'll take some from the audience and then go on. I'll go back to answer these questions that I got if I am able. So let me find some blank space here. Any questions from the audience today? And please say your name beforehand.
Hi, I'm Mitch. I don't use our website very often. I'm on it right now, and it's not jumping up in my face where to register for these classes. Could you go over that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Other questions?
John,
John.
can you get rid of the reading, the reading list on the left?
Yeah.
So it's part of it.
And that's in mail?
Yes.
Other questions?
Is the Apple Watch 3 versus Apple Watch 4?
Others? Deborah?
In photos, when you do select the slideshow presentation, can you change the music from the canned music that goes, that's listed in the options? There's theme and music. Each theme has a set music to it. Can you change the music?
Okay.
Technical considerations when you formulated a keynote presentation, how to actually display it, what kind of connections, what kind of hookup, screen, etc. Considerations.
You're asking for presentation or
Presentation, how to present your keynote presentation that you've already formulated.
There was another one behind you somewhere?
No,
No?
cancel.
Cancel. I answered it without speaking. Tell it. All right, let's do a couple of these quickly, and then I'll go back up to the. Actually, that's not fair. Let's go back to the first one we got. First question was emailed to me about online bill pay. Now, part of this problem. Can you all read it? People in the back. Background: my online bill pay service with Banktivity, which is the finance program that runs on the Mac most easily, using Fifth Third Bank is dead in the water. Each side blames the other. The system had worked reasonably for years. I think probably what happened was that Fifth Third got somebody who knew about computers, and that screwed up the whole thing. I shouldn't say it that way. I have very bad experience with Fifth Third, but I know lots of people use them, particularly in the Midwest. I don't know the answer to this, except that there are two ways to pay your own bills using Banktivity. One is called direct access, and one uses basically the bank's system. And if the bank system doesn't work, you have to pay Banktivity to use the direct access. It's not very expensive. I think it's $40 a year. I use it because half of my things don't work directly, so it gives me the option of going one way or the other. I don't know who asked that question. So who you know that? Karen, sorry.
Yeah, I use the direct access, and it just the finger pointing is just incredible. Nobody will take the blame.
It's partly Banktivity because they're a very small operation, and partly Fifth Third, and I just think they're out to lunch. I don't know what else to tell you. The other questions though were, what's the best? These are nice, simple questions. what's the best online bill pay app? And which bank has the best information technology division? Well, I don't know which is the best online bill pay app. I don't use any of them directly through the app. I use the bank's system for everything. Personally, I think that's a little more secure because it takes one step out of the process, because you're dealing with the bank's system and you know you're not getting things translated. So I don't use the online bill pay. I didn't even use Quicken for online bill pay. I always use the banks. But that's a personal preference. Online best bank information technology department. I think USAA is really super, but not many people access USAA because it has to be military, the former military. I find them to be superb. I'd say probably Citibank is second, and then the other guys, Bank of America is just incompetent, and Fifth Third is after them, down below them. But I don't know, people have different outcomes. I'm sorry.
I use Fifth Third, I have no problem.
Yeah, I used them for years, and then I started having sort of like,
They all want to.
yeah.
Everybody talk louder for you.
Bernadette, go ahead.
We have Wells Fargo, and it seems to work. The only problem we run into, you have to allow 5 days, because sometimes they pay it in 1 day, 2 days, but sometimes it can take up to 5 days, so
What did they say?
pay a little earlier, That's, I found with bank, Wells Fargo Bank.
I think in the past I've used PayPal.
Huh?
That worked.
Yeah, PayPal works. PayPal works very well. They're excellent. In fact, their stock has done super duper. So, if you could all buy PayPal stock so it goes up a little more, I would be very happy. There's another hand somewhere. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do use Bank of America, and I don't have any problems with it, but it was a little bit difficult to master, so to speak.
The banks have some work to do. I have put some links on here for three alternatives, because the other question was, Quicken for Mac has a terrible history. Have they mended their ways?
No.
Well, you know that Quicken got spun off from Intuit about 2 years ago, I think now. So it's now a standalone company. It doesn't have the burden of Intuit and TurboTax and QuickBooks and all the other things that the guys were being called upon to do. I think the standalone Quicken is better. The new standalone company is better than when they were underneath Intuit and buried. I can't really comment about Quicken on the Mac. I tried it recently again, and I wasn't very happy, but my financial structure is pretty complicated. So it depends on how complicated yours is. I'd say go try it. They have trials. The links are here. It's the standalone company. Go ahead, John.
She uses it on a lot. But they have a great tech support.
Yeah, they do now.
They told me that they were trying to be the Apple of that type of thing. And they are, where you can get through, talk to a person and stick with you.
That's true. The new Quicken support is way better than Intuit. Way better. So I agree. I second that motion.
Yeah, I used both. I used the for Windows for years on my Mac with one of the conversion programs that you.
Parallels.
Yeah. And then when they redid it, I switched over to the. I did the trial and I switched over to the Apple version, and it's not as good, but it is pretty good and it's acceptable for what I do.
There are two other programs that I put up here that you might want to try. Mint is the online version that Intuit has now. It's free, and it basically works the same way as Quicken used to, but it's all online and it's all free. they do it with advertising, you get paid by advertising and stuff, because I asked them that recently. I said, well, okay, you have this free, you used to have Quicken, where I was paying you $80 a year, $100 a year, whatever, and they said, well, we do it with advertising, so you have those ads that you have to deal with them. There's a question back here, go ahead, ma'am.
I have a comment to make, but I want to say that.
Could you say your name, please? Dee Dee. Go ahead.
We've had the girl, the security lady here before, what's her name?
Yeah.
Carrie Kirsty.
Yep.
And she has said, don't go to the bank to pay your bills. Does anybody else remember that? Because they have third-party people that a lot of times, that's where the breaches are. And she said, Jerry, do you remember that?
I would remember that.
I was thinking that she recommended that we go directly to the entity you want to, light company, I know it takes time and but you go right there and then you pay your bill and I do all that through one password.
I don't remember that, and I personally would not agree with that. But she's the expert, so I would, if she really said that, I would have to understand why.
Yeah, well, but then
There's an online bank, I mean, all the bank is doing, but in most cases, all the bank is doing is taking your payment stub, your order to pay, and they already have an account with FP&L or somebody, so they're not sending checks through the mail or doing anything like that.
That's correct.
They've got FP&L, and they
But I
just send
remember
a
her
couple
saying
$100
it's
million.
third party somewhere.
They could send a couple $100 million to FP&L directly. They don't.
Okay.
I can tell you that banks consider Apple Pay third party.
Banks consider Apple Pay third party. Well,
You
sure.
have the bank paying with Apple Pay
Yeah.
and try to get your money back. You got to call a manager in the 225 things.
Well, Apple Pay is third party, right? It's all going through somebody else. So anyway,
But
so
she did
there's
say that not to use it.
there are some links there, including the new Microsoft Money Direct Deluxe Plus Sense, whatever that is. I have not played with that one, so I'm not endorsing. I'm just giving you the links if you want to go do it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Ed. Add one more to your list. And several years ago, when Quicken went bad on the Mac, and I spent a long weekend trying many different things, I came up with one that nobody else seems to know about or mention called Money Dance.
Money Dance.
Money Dance. And I won't call it superb, but it's worked pretty well for me for several years now.
So is it moneydance.com?
I think, yeah. I can't remember because I downloaded it and run. I can't remember if I had to pay anything one time. It's not there's no annual fee for it. But it's a Mac program. There is an iOS access to it. You can't do much, but you can come and check on the status of your accounts. It'll handle multiple bank accounts and things, and credit cards and all that kind of stuff. You can download all the transactions. I think it works fairly well.
Okay, another question that came up was user guides. Is Tom here? He says, I have found Apple user guides for hardware and software to be the best source of how-to information. I wonder if you know why Apple does not offer their user guides for sale, or why they don't let you print the content from their website. I think you can print the content from their website. I think it's page by page, or screen copy of their page. Select it all and then print it.
Marty?
But they do offer a number of user guides for free in the bookstore. So a lot of those guides are available if you just go to Apple Books or whatever it's called now and find the subject.
What books are you talking about, iBooks?
iBooks, yeah. It's not iBooks anymore, it's now books.
It's the same question with iBooks.
Well, I would make two comments. One is, the latest guide for iPhone in iOS 12 is over 900 pages. So I would suggest that's a good reason why. The other thing I would say is if you go to the Apple Support Network, you can get a lot of good information, and and it's usually maybe at the most 10 pages. I don't know if you can print it, but you probably, I don't know if you could print it into a PDF or something, I'm not sure. But you could actually copy the pages and, and print them that way. But that, it's not as thorough as the guides, but it gives you a lot of really good information on apps for your Apple.
What is it?
It's the Apple Support Network, and I'd like to tell you I know how to get there.
It's usually, isn't it support?
Is Don here? No, because Don knows it by heart, but it's yeah. And
Just go to
then
the Apple site support.
On Apple Care?
no, it's a website.
A forum?
Oh, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not apple.com?
No. It's no, it's not apple.com. It's well, it might be. I'll look it up and I'll put it out on the discussion group. But it does give you a lot of good information. It's usually not tons of pages.
Another question was about badges. What are badges? In messages, settings, notification of badges, what are badges and what are they for? Oh, I guess I had that written down twice here. Badges are, if you see down at the bottom here where these little red dots are, down there and down there, you see them all? A badge is just a little red dot that tells you you have a notification, or you have more mail, or you have, in this case, you have something to do. System preferences, the little one down here says system preferences is 1. That means I have to update something or other, right? And in settings notifications on your device, those notifications badges are, if I want to be notified, which are up here in this corner, do I want to see a badge when I get notified about something? So if I had a bunch of notifications here, let's say, for example, the stock market was doing something and I wanted to be notified. If that widget let me get notified, then it would put a little red dot and it would tell me that I had some notification to come. So that's what notifications are. And on badges, excuse me, and on notifications, sometimes they appear, particularly on your device, they'll appear when you swipe down on the top of the device to get notifications. You make a decision how you want that notification to appear. Do you want it to be full page? Do you want it to stay there until you say go away? Whatever. So notifications is a pretty useful way to track things. Next question was about, is there a way in iOS to find out which apps have location tracking turned on? Yeah, go look at the app, go look in notifications, and you'll have a long list, and the long list will show you. I can show you here, actually. Let's see if I can do this, so we'll do this right. Screen mirror. 0593. Now don't everybody do that, because then we'll have 5 of us on the screen at one time. So you go to settings, notifications, and you see here the list, right? Every app that has a notification associated with it will show you here. So Ally Mobile, which is a financial services company, has 2 kinds of notifications. Amazon has 3 kinds of notifications, so forth and so on. The App Store has none. So you simply by looking down the list of apps, this is in settings notifications, simply by looking down the list of apps, you can see which apps have notifications turned on and which don't. Okay, any other questions about that? question was about, did I not answer the question? Hold on a minute here.
So Marty, how do you turn those off?
Okay, turn that.
Yeah, sorry, I got to turn it. Stop mirror. The question was, is there a way in iOS to find out which apps have location or location tracking turned on? Which apps have location tracking turned on? Location tracking is privacy. Location services, same deal, right? So let me go back here. So in settings, right, settings is in the upper right, upper left here. In privacy, location services, and then in location services, it shows you whether an app will be tracking your location when you're using it. Like here it says, while using. See, Banktivity tracks me when I'm using it. Or day one down here never tracks me, right? Because I don't want day one tracking me, the old day one. I use the old one and the new one. And then some of them, let's see if I have any that have yes. Weather down here is always, and weather tracks my location always. So when I carry this around with me, it knows where I am, so it can tell me if I have thunderstorm or whatever. So this is in settings, privacy, location services, and then it lists every app that tracks your location. Similar, right? Questions about that? I hear murmuring. You got questions? Okay. I found a note from a previous Nmug meeting that says it's good to change the name on an iPhone. That's probably my comment. I think when you're in a room like this, and I want to send something to Conrad, and if his phone says iPhone, and all the rest of you say iPhone, then I don't know who I'm sending stuff to. And on AirDrop, you don't know about AirDrop, right? On AirDrop, if I want to send something to someone, let's say a cartoon, if I wanted to send this to you, and I wanted to use AirDrop, which is this little round thing down here, right? You'll see what's going to happen in a minute. Right now I have George and Marcia and Naples MacBook Pro, which is this sign-in, and I have WZ Stores and SSJR and iPhone, but I don't know which iPhone that guy is, right? So if you have your phone labeled or you have your iPad labeled, I can send this to you, or the 59 people who have iPads. You all see that here? 59 people have their iPad called iPad. So if you all want it, I can send it to you.
Not today.
But, you know, I really only want to send it to George. So that's why. It's nothing more complicated than that. It's nothing more complicated than if you want to send a message to somebody and, you know, you want it to say something other than iPad or iPhone, you put your name on it. Or make up a name. You know, mine is called Marty's iPad Pro or Marty's iPhone X, but some people use FBI, you know, or the NSA headquarters. You know what I mean?
Marty, how do you change the name?
How do you change the name? Aha. I thought you never asked. So you go to settings. Roses are for my anniversary. Am I not a sweet guy or what? You go to settings. You go to general. You go to about. And at the top it says Marty's iPad Pro. Well, I would hope you don't call your phone up Marty's iPad Pro. You just touch that little place and then you can edit whatever it says there. You see it at the top? You just touch that, edit it. I don't know why it didn't show. Oh, it's showing on your screen. And you just edit that the same way as you edit anything else. You just
Don't get a picture in show up too.
say it again.
When there's a picture in your iPad, doesn't it show up?
When there's a picture in your iPad, does it show up where, on this line? No, not to my knowledge.
I just sent one from a computer this morning, and it showed the picture of the person I sent it to.
Well, that's nothing more than my picture here. You see my little
I mean, that's one way to
emoji.
identify the people on the bottom line.
Yeah, you can identify people that way with, in messages, because if my card has my face or an emoji or a picture of a bird or, whatever, some people put their dog, and, they're creative. And you do that in my contacts, right? You do that in contacts. You do that down here. You all know this stuff, right? Contacts. Right here it says My Info, Marty Dorio, right? So settings, contacts, My Info, and when I go to My Info, it takes me to the first card in my contacts, which is up here, right? That's my card. And in that card, I can do an edit, and then I can edit my picture just by either adding an emoji or taking a photo, right? You all see that? Take a photo, choose a photo, edit the photo, or delete the photo. And I just happen to use the emoji that comes in messages. I made it a JPEG and stuck it in here. So I don't use my face anymore. I use this little emoji. Okay.
One more thing about the name that you put on your device. That name also goes with the iCloud backup device.
Right.
So if you change from one iPhone to another, if you change the name and you go look at iCloud, you'll see backup the old phone as well as the new phone with the different names.
Good point. So that's another reason to identify it, right? It shows you which device you're doing to. Or if you want to just airdrop to something yourself, you make sure you're doing it to your own device.
Marty?
Go ahead.
Yeah, how is it that you got your name at the top of the contacts?
You're going to keep making me do this, aren't you? Maybe I'll just stay here. Sorry. So when you're in settings, right, in contacts, the bottom one says My Info. And you have to put your name, you have to make that be your name. So you go find your card on the list of things in your contacts. You go find your card, and by making your card My Info, then it picks up your info as the first card in your directory, and then it uses your image for anything that you send out or message or any place else where your contact, like on FaceTime, your image and your information is linked to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
My new iWatch thinks it's my wife wearing it.
Yeah.
So it congratulates my wife for all the things she did, exercise it. I don't know how to get rid of it. It's a good
I don't know how to do that either, but George probably can tell you after that.
He has enough lives.
He's falling.
All right, so let's see what else this says here. Can burst mode be turned off on an iPhone 8? Burst mode is built, I think is built into the operating system. And the way you turn it off is don't hold the button down so much. Burst mode happens when you hold the button down, right? You all know what burst mode is, right? Anybody who doesn't know burst mode? Don't be afraid. You know, if you don't know it, raise your hand, we can talk about it, right? When you're taking a picture, oops, let me move you back here so you can see what I'm doing. When you're taking a picture, like I am taking a picture of this group, right? I'll do it this way so it's really nice. Are you all dizzy? If I hold down that white button at the top, or on, I guess it's on the side, so let me leave it at the side. If I hold down this white button once, I take a single picture, right? That single picture is here. That's the single picture, right? But if I hold down that white button 100 times and do that, I have actually just taken a whole bunch of pictures. They all look like that. They all look like a single picture. But down at the bottom, you see that this thing, I guess it doesn't appear on the screen. But anyway, on this screen, there are single images, and then the last one is a fat image. And that fat image is actually an image of all the pictures I just took going around the room. So if I were to edit it, I could see, I never remember how to look at the.
So the answer, Marty, is you can't shut it off.
You can't shut it off, just don't touch it so hard. Yeah. So here's the image going around the room, and that's the entire image. I have, I thought it told me the total number, but you can see what happens when I scroll across. So I've actually panned across the room, and I've taken individual images. Now, why is this useful? You know that dolphin that never comes out of the water when you're taking a picture? Well, that's why it's useful. Because you can sit there and hope that you track the dolphin, and then you'll see that one image, and that one image will be down here somewhere, right in the middle, and that dolphin will be out of the water, and you'll be able to just capture that single image. That kind of thing. Or your granddaughter rolling over, and you never quite get the rollover, you know, but then you can take a whole series. Of course, you can do it with a video. I know you can do it with slow motion, all those other options, but burst is sort of an easy way to get 2 seconds worth of something and have 20 images.
So when you find that dolphin, Mitch, when you find that dolphin, do you just make that the primary picture, or can you delete all the others?
Yeah, you can just take this one and put that little blue dot in the corner and say, I want to keep that, and get rid of all the other ones. And you say done. It says, do I want to keep everything, or do I want to keep only the one favorite?
Ah, great, thank you.
So you have a collection of burst. It could be 100 pictures or 12 pictures. You pick the one you want, you say keep it, and all the rest go into recently deleted. And, you know, there was another question in the back. Deborah, somebody?
That was my same question.
Excellent. Yeah, bursts are fun for those rare events, you know, diving into the water off the Olympic platform. It takes a second, you know, you never get it right. But if you hold the whole thing and you watch it go down, and you just get the one. On MVP, can I add things like pointing arrows to a screenshot for use in a presentation? Oh, sure. There are 2 ways to do that, and it's very nice. Pardon me. Let's go look at a picture here, something that's useful. Here's a good example. In our new condo, I think many of you know that we just recently moved, And it's excruciating because it's a new place and you have to be able to show people things that are not right without, excruciating details. So yesterday I took this picture with my trusty little iPhone, and then I said, but I want to show these morons where this slit is in my ceiling that's not supposed to be there. How did I do that? Well, I took a picture, right? And then you say edit. And everybody has these little things down at the bottom, right? You all have the enhance and the brightness and the cropping and the light and shadows and whatever. But then you have this little thing that says dots. Now what the heck is those little 3 dots? We never pay attention to them. But those little 3 dots, depending on what you have on your computer, will be slightly different than mine. But the 3 dots on mine say markup, sketch, camera plus, and more. Well, we're just going to look at markup and sketch. Sketch is a free program that lets you do what markup does, but with color and nice devices, nice tools. Markup is the same tool. Pardon me. Markup is the same tool that is on emails that you want to address, when you put an attachment on an email and you want to edit something or make a notation on something. So that's the one we're going to talk about today. Markup opens up these little devices, a highlighter, a pencil, an eraser, a lasso, and these different colors. So if I wanted to pick this little guy, and I wanted it to be a really medium-sized little annotation. You see what I'm doing at the bottom? I just pick which shape, which implement, and how big it is. And then I say, well, I want it to be red. So I pick red. And then I move my little cursor and I say, look, you dummies, it's right there. Fix it. Or I could make an arrow, a nice arrow, or whatever. Right? And then I would just say, save it. And I save it up here in the upper corner, it says done. Right there. And I would save it. And of course, I wouldn't put all this on it. I would, whoops, how do I get my eraser? I just want the one that was there from before. So markup that's the easy way to do it. Just mark up. I like Sketch because Sketch gives you some different, actually a markup does it as well. There's an arrow, so if I wanted to draw an arrow and put this arrow in using markup, I could do that. Delete that, sorry. Let me add an arrow, and I want to move this arrow over here. And have it point to my thing like that.
How did you get that pre-made arrow?
In the little corner, there's like a little plus sign.
Oh,
Right? That little plus sign gives you some tools.
thank you.
And then this little guy has pre-made tools. If I wanted to duplicate it or make it fatter, make it a different color,
Okay, Marty, I have a question on Marcia. Did you add Sketch to the little section where it
No,
says?
it does it automatically.
What?
It does it automatically. If it's on it, once it's on your device.
Yeah, and I had to turn it on
Oh, you did?
in my markup section, yeah. So that's how you get to it. You don't look at the app itself.
No.
Sketch, okay.
No, it's just on the little, Marcia's question is I don't want to change this, so I'm not going to do it. When I added Sketch here, how did I get it there? And I think just because it was in my, on my device, maybe you had to turn it on?
Yes.
I didn't know you had to turn it on. I don't remember turning it on.
Where did you
But
turn
I
it on,
did.
Marcia?
And more, on the 3 little dots. You have to give access, you have to give Sketch access to your photos.
Oh, so maybe you have to do it here. Oh, yeah, sorry, you're right. Because here are some others. So what I did here, I'm sorry,
Marcus.
in the bottom, in this three little dots that are down here, three little dots, right? The way you get things to be there is for these three little dots, you have to turn them on. So I've turned on Sketch and Markup and Camera Plus. I haven't turned on Effects and Max Curve and Pixelmator, but I could, and that would let me manipulate the picture.
Yeah, but these are apps that you've already.
These are apps that are on my device.
Right.
That I'm just giving access to.
Marty, the only thing that shows up on mine when I hit those three dots is markup.
That's right, because if you don't have these things on your device. Now, Sketch, for example, is free. So you can just go to, I think it's sketch.com or evernote.com.
Or
App Store.
App Store.
Or the
App Store.
App Store. See, that's why it's from many to many. You don't know.
Now, you need to get the app to the App Store originally for it to show up.
Okay, on a MacBook Pro under Go, what does enclosing folder do and when and where is it used? That's a very good question because sometimes you don't really know that. Let's see if I can find one. Open my Finder here. It says up here Go, right? And now enclosing folder is grayed out for me because I'm on my main screen, right? But let's go somewhere like down here. So now I'm on this key thing, and it's in recents, right? So I'm looking for that, but I don't know where it is. You can all see this, right in the camera. So when I open Finder, in recents, I have this folder, right? 2013 Nmug meeting presentation. Now the question is, where is it? So if I go up here to Go, it says enclosing folder. So enclosing folder is as answering the question, where is that file located? Which is the enclosing folder that has that file, right? So if I touch that, it will now take me to 2013 annual meeting, and there's the file, right? So enclosing folder is simply a way to find stuff when you don't know where it is.
Wouldn't it have been easier to just have a button that says find pathway?
Pathbar.
I don't think, do we have that?
It would be nice.
It's called, Apple speak is different. Enclosing folder. You know, you don't have to think about pathway and stuff. You want to find it? Here it is.
But where's the enclosing folder located?
Where is this located?
Yes.
Well, probably you can go up a folder or down a folder. See, I know where it is, but now you're asking me how to find that one.
That's why you need the path.
I would go here, and then I would just sort of scroll over, right? I would change my display to this little column thing, which I like a lot. So I know where it is. It's in this folder. That folder is in this folder, and this folder is in that folder, and that folder is over here.
Marty, if you go to Preferences in Finder, do you have the option of pathbar?
I don't know.
It's under View.
View. Yeah,
Under
there
View,
you
you get the selection, just turn it on.
View,
Show path.
show pathbar. There you go. So
That's
show
it.
pathbar is the stuff down at the bottom.
File change.
So those of you who are interested in that, the path bar is this thing down at the bottom, which shows you the entire place from the beginning to the end, how to get to that. And that's show path bar. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
Right, how about command click the folder name of the stuff?
How about what?
Command click that folder name.
Command click that guy right there. That takes me to the whole path bar,
Same thing.
right? It's annual, 2013 annual meeting, secretary's documents.
Who said that?
Ed.
Ed?
Of course, Ed.
You're hired.
Ed.
That's how we find our teachers, board members.
People who can answer these questions. There you go. So you should have them up here. Ed. Ed. All right, so we got go. In time machine, are there exclusions or inclusions? What are they and how are they set? Yeah, there are exclusions. It's very important, actually. How many of you use time machine? Anybody who doesn't? Time machine, really? All right, so see me afterwards because you're, you know, I can help you.
Where is it on the iPhone?
Where's our time machine?
It's not on the iPhone.
Here's time machine. So time machine is this little guy in the upper, on the upper dock here, with a little clocky thing in the middle of it, right? And when you open time machine preferences, now time machine works the opposite of the way we think. It takes everything on your computer and stores it on your external hard drive, which I took off because I didn't want to be seen. But I have my little time machine, and at home I plug this in, and it sits there and it gurgles and it saves up everything on this device, which is the club computer, every hour for 24 hours, every day for a week, or for a month, for a week, every week for a month, and then every month until it runs out of space. So this is 500 gigabytes, and it stores everything on here. Roughly, from November to now, I have a copy, all right? Now, down at the bottom, hold on a second here, let me get to his question first. Down at the bottom, it says options, and one of the options is exclude these items from backups. Well, what does it want you to exclude? It excludes this user's file, and it excludes WD Smartware. It will also have, if I plug this in, it will show this device, because you don't want to be backing up this device onto itself, right? So it stores what's on here, excluding these things. Now, let's say I didn't want to record the document folder for whatever reason. I could exclude the documents folder, and then it would have a line that would say, don't do that, right? Don't back up that. Some people will exclude their photos because their photos are being backed up to the cloud. So they won't have photos being backed up to Time Machine. Or their movies, because their movies are stored on YouTube. So there are a variety of reasons why you would exclude something. And other than that, Time Machine includes everything. All right?
Excuse me, Mark.
Go ahead.
Is that Time Machine, is that a specific external drive specifically for the Mac, or is that?
No, any
Time Machine is a software product.
Yeah, sorry. The Time Machine is the automatic backup for Apple products.
Okay, so you can buy any external drive?
Yes.
Okay.
You should look and make sure that it's good for Apple.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, you
Say what you just said again, because I couldn't hear you. Say what you just said.
He said you should make sure it's good for Apple, because I have a WD drive, external drive, and I can't format it to my Mac. I'm having trouble with that, so,
Yeah, I don't know why you can't. You can always reformat a drive.
okay, I guess I just gotta learn how.
You know, disk utilities, and it says erase, which sounds ominous, but you erase it and you just convert
That's
it.
the problem, okay.
You just convert it, but it will erase everything on the drive. So you want to make sure it's not, you know, bogus. But you can buy. Western Digital has a nice plan. They make one of these things for Microsoft for Windows programs, and then they reformat it for Mac and charge you $20 more. So you can pay me the $20, I'll do it for you.
When first setting up those hard drives, it will ask you whether you want it encrypted, and I strongly suggest you do want it encrypted.
That's a good idea.
Have your password, make sure you remember the password.
I agree with that, especially if it's something that's sensitive stuff, and we all have sensitive stuff.
If you've got trouble enough to pack it up, if you want to encrypt it, then you want to.
Go ahead, sir.
Can you back up using Time Machine to 2 different drives?
Sure. I use 4. Yeah, because they'll ask you here, select disk, and when you add a new disk, it will say, do you want to use both of them, or do you want to use this in place of that one? And if you say both of them, what Time Machine does is it puts this hour here, this a new hour here, next hour here, this hour here, and does that. And if you have 4 of them, like I do, I have 4 copies. So if something ever happened to me, I'd have 3 extra copies.
I ended up with, I was doing this for years, I ended up with a bad disk, and I can't seem to get it off the Time Machine to add a new one.
You can't get it off.
How do I eliminate a disk that doesn't work anymore?
When you put your new one on, it will say, do you want to replace this or not? And you just say replace, and the old one should go away. If not, I mean, call me and talk to me. I've done every convoluted thing you can do.
By the way, that, a lot of that information that you need for that type of thought process of backing up and securely backing up is going to be done in one of the classes called protection. And it's a very worthwhile class to take, like that board.
But for those of you who don't do Time Machine, what that means is your device, eventually these things are going to fail. So if you're not doing Time Machine, if you're not backing up somehow, what you have on here is going to be gone, So this is a $100 investment. You plug it in, you leave it plugged in. If you move and go somewhere, you have to carry your PC with you, or your laptop with you, you unplug it, and then later you plug it back in again. It just picks up where you stopped.
What's the life history of one of those time machines? I have one that's, I'm almost embarrassed to say, it's close to 10 years old. So it's a bigger unit, not surprisingly.
And you have that many backups? 10 years?
Well,
Wow.
and it's asked me in the past if I want to start again.
Yeah.
But do they last? I mean, I guess assuming.
It's only a function of the age of the device. I run through these things really fast, but that's just me. I don't know why.
Jerry King, how many Time Machine backups do you have to one computer?
I do 2. Not 4, I do 2. Every hour, A goes, and the next hour B goes, and the third hour A goes. And then in addition, I have Super Duper running on 2 other things. So I have 4 backups.
Jerry is a belt and suspender.
Yeah.
Well, what happens, the reason you want more than one, it totally depends on what your circumstance is. I do a lot of different things, a lot of different configurations, so I want the protection because these are 3-year devices. They're not going to last very long. 3, 5 years maybe. 10 is very unusual in my experience, and they're constantly failing. I have one now that just failed. So I'm constantly replacing Time Machine backups, and I'm constantly running out of space. So.
Could I also suggest that it's somewhat foolhardy to have the disk, the backup disk at your computer and have no way of protecting it if it's lost. So I have 2 and I keep one at the bank and swap it once a week.
No,
To have it on the same site as your computer is only creating a risk.
What are multiple partitions on Time Machine and what's it used for? I don't know what that is. Does anybody know what a multiple partition is?
Not on Time Machine, but on a hard drive, yes.
A hard drive, like these hard drives are 500 gigabytes, right? They're pretty small. This probably is, I know it's a terabyte. So that means it takes 2 of these to cover what's in here, if I had this filled. Now, we don't have it anywhere near filled, so we use a small one. At home, I have a 4 terabyte and a 6 terabyte drive, and those drives are single partitions. But if I wanted to, I could split them in 2 or 3 or 4. Basically, it's just making a small drive out of a bigger one. It's a way to partition, sometimes you put a different operating system on or whatever.
But with that
Peacock does.
kill,
Hold on a second. Don Peacock does a number of different operating systems, so that, you could have different operating systems for different things. John?
if you took the 4, if one dies, will it automatically go over to the other 3 and kill it too? I mean, would the drive stop?
No.
No?
No, just a drive's a drive, it just,
No, but I mean, it's all, if you've got a 4 gigabyte drive here, and if one part that you broken down dies, does the whole thing go away? How does it hold?
none of it's partitions.
Not if it's part, okay.
Yes, and,
Depends.
yes, and,
Go ahead.
I have time capsule, which is multi-partition for each of the devices in my home network. So I've got backups there. Then I have one external hard drive that I have multi-partition for each of those devices, and I simply plug it in once a week as a backup to give me that extra support if anything goes bad. But they're all constantly working until one portion will fail, and that's easy to then be covered.
Marty, is there some way to check and see how much room you have left on your backup?
Sure. Command-I.
Command-I?
what was the question?
Is there a way to check to see how much room you have left? Select the device. Like if I select this guy, if I do Command-I, I get this nice little information panel that says, here's the volume called Macintosh HD, that's this one, right? And it tells me I have 898 gigabytes available out of, and I've used 104 gigabytes, rounded up.
Marty?
So I used 104 out of the 898.
Marty,
Jerry?
if you go back to that time machine preferences and you look at your drive, it will tell you when the last backup was done and how much space is left on the drive. So you can either use the time machine preferences or you use Command-I, as Marty said.
Right. Yeah, if I plug this in, it will show me, on my devices at home, I have my information here shows me how much space is available on all these drives. Who else had a question? There's another hand somewhere.
All right.
Go ahead.
I have 2 questions about this. When you attach a second drive, you said it asks you whether you want both or not. When you say yes to both, is the backup alternating between them? Like, will the 3 o'clock backup be on one and the 4 o'clock on another?
Yes.
And the second question is, the first time, okay, so I have an older drive that I'm scared about it failing, so I'm going to add a new drive. When I add the new drive, will it have the lengthy first backup that a new drive would take?
Yep. Because it's making a backup,
And then after that, it'll be a smart backup, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How reliable are those SMART things that are analyzed and called winter drives that fail when it's okay?
The question was, how reliable are the smart tests that are being done now when you upgrade? I don't have a lot of experience with that. When I did it, there was no alternative. When Smart said it was going to fail, then I took it to Apple and I had them run the diagnostics and they said this is going to fail, so you should replace it. So for $590, I replaced it. So the choice was new Mac, $590. So, I bought the Mac. I bought the But I don't know.
So it was not scary.
It's new to me. It's new to me. I think it was a scam to sell more computers. It's just me. I found that I moved an email to junk and then later moved it back to inbox. It appears the email address is classified as junk. Yeah, there's a little box at the top. I looked for an example and I don't have one, but there's a little box at the top of mail when you have junk mail. Let's see if I can find it.
Junk.
I don't have any junk because I cleaned these all out. But anyway, if something is junk, and it winds up over in the junk file, it'll say at the top of it, not junk, and then you can move it back. Or I think there's a way to do it up here too. Message, move to junk, and then the opposite. If it's in junk, you can move it out of junk, and you'll tell it it's not junk anymore. But it's not very reliable in either way, in my experience anyway. Okay, where to register for classes? This was a question that came up earlier. Let's go to our little happy thing here. I probably should have done this first, right? Depending on the device, sometimes your website looks like this and it's got things across the top. This is where you find Eckert's email address, by the way. You go to officers and directors, you click on that, you scroll down, and here he is. And you can just send him an email right there. All right, so that's number one. Came up earlier. And then off here to the left, you have classes, a member benefit class registration. Now, if you're on a device, unfortunately, on a device, these have a new code, 961, right? I guess I took too long. When you go to a device, either your phone or your iPad, things get a little bit fluky because you don't have the real estate. Now, in this case, I have the real estate. And again, classes would be here, class registration. If it doesn't appear here, you'll get a bunch of lines at the top. And the lines at the top will then give you links to these classes. Right?
Or you could just scroll down, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they're at the bottom.
On the iPad, if you have it in landscape, you'll get the sidebar. If you have it the other way, you have to go down, scroll down to the bottom to get the list. But you have the big iPad, so.
Yeah, see, I'm getting it both ways.
Yeah, but if you have the regular, the smaller size iPad, and you have it in the other orientation.
Let me see.
While you're doing that, that support place that I mentioned earlier, I can no longer find that. So erase everything I said. I think they changed it with the new upgrades. And now you can just get the online manuals and there's no way to print them.
There's no way to download them anymore either.
No.
Right.
Just go to books. Why is it?
Yeah, why?
I don't know, you have to check with Apple.
I did.
And what did they tell you?
We don't do it.
So on the smaller display, which is what this is, here are the lines, right? And these lines will take you to the upper menus, officers, annual meetings, so forth and so on. And then if you scroll down to the bottom,
Is it searchable?
it takes you to your other menu, and here's class registration. So you can just touch class registration, and you'll go to the class registration form. Eventually. Come on. There it is. Click here to register for all classes. Okay?
Is there a direction for the conference center?
There is, right at the bottom of the same place. It says directions to Nmug classes, right there. And that will take you to a map and give you directions. It shows you where it is on the little thingy. It's across from, if you know where Noodles is, it's across the parking lot from Noodles, behind that second shopping center, behind the West Shopping Center. It's in that, right in there. You know where Noodles is, on Pine Ridge?
No.
Pine Ridge Road between Goodlet and Airport.
Yeah.
Noodles is a famous Italian restaurant, big orange sign. It sells sushi and Italian food. And then across the parking lot is another shopping center. It's the other piece of this shopping center. And the conference center is behind that. And there's a sign out front that says.
I think it's on the way to Pine Ridge
Middle school.
Pine Ridge Middle School.
But it's right here. Here's Noodles. You go across the parking lot, across these buildings, and right in there. And you can enter from here too.
And the doors don't open until the class starts.
Do you have 100% of your web page on the phone format?
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, he just went over that, I think.
If you have trouble, let me know. And
No, but I thought many of them, when you use smaller the device, the less you can get on the web page.
Well, that's
Well,
why.
we don't have much, I mean, our web pages are pretty straightforward, and they all, to my knowledge, I test them all, and if they don't fit, let me know, and I'll
All right, I think that's about it for the day.
I think that's.
Don't forget the exhibit.
What was that?
Don't forget the exhibit.
Don't forget the exhibit.
Don't forget.
Thank you very much for attending. Thanks for all your questions. Have a great